Thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to LongWalker's Life. Tonight we're discussing there we go, all the different scenarios with the postpartum and why 40 days is a in between for most religion, spiritually wise, for all that for being
In science.
and science wise for the woman being out or even in some cases even communicating with the husband
Yeah.
on some. Now, Western ways have made it otherwise to where women are going back to work almost instantly, but that's just Western, that's recent, and it's the way that it should not be. I have got a list of videos here that will go over different ones for why they do it, and
The mental health and stuff that's
yeah,
behind it, the physical health that's behind it. Stuff that I never knew. I even up until last week thought that it was like a 3 week thing.
yes,
Like and I thought, I didn't even get that the first time, so I thought 3 weeks was being really, really generous. But I was thinking of wolves. And
yes,
wolves first start coming out of the den at 3 weeks, and cats start kind of coming out at around 3 weeks. It wasn't until I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be going back, but I'm not really feeling that optimal, at least in the mental health department. So I went and looked it
yeah. It
up.
was like, it's like, why am I not feeling like I should be back?
Right, I mean, physically, I still feel pretty good. I'm a little, I get winded and I'm a little
Yeah,
weak.
I mean the body goes. If you really watch it, the body goes through a lot. And I mean, you have um the baby pushing up on so many of the organs, squashing the organs. It's really amazing that it's only really 40 days that it takes to get back to normal. And that's like hormonally even. There's a lot of hormonal changes that happen.
Yeah, it took 9 months to get to that point.
Yeah,
And then
and
it's
it's
only,
going back in 40 days.
yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's amazing.
a little less than 6 weeks. And I think what's most remarkable is it seems that every ancient culture seemed to know this well before we ever did.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Before,
Before our science had proven anything
right,
else.
before modern medicine came
Yeah,
along and science came along to prove it, they already knew, and it was already observed. My biggest issue was like the first time when our son was born 14 years ago, I kept being guilted by this old story, and I know just about every pregnant woman has heard it about how in China or Africa, depending on the
the
story. Yeah,
context and
right.
yeah.
They used to go out and like they would work all through their pregnancy and then give birth right there in the rice paddies and then keep just set them aside and keep on working.
Yes, it's
I,
very true. I mean,
I,
we had to look that one up, and that's actually false.
it's false. Yeah, there was one story of a lady that was interviewed years ago. She was from New Guinea, so neither of those places, and it was a joke. She said that she had been out there working and she hadn't expected it, and she sneezed, and then the baby popped out.
Yeah,
And she was working, but it was premature and stuff. It wasn't supposed to. It wasn't supposed to happen.
exactly.
It
So
wasn't
that's just a freak
planned.
thing, and then people run with it.
And so I was guilted with that all through my first pregnancy, and it was like you just don't show weakness, and you better get back to work. You better hit the ground running. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean that you're broken. Just because you
Yeah,
just had a baby doesn't mean that you're not strong. And now I see that that probably had a lot to do with where I ended up with my anxiety and mental state.
of course.
Suspicion, I have like a lot of trust issues and everything. And I think that it all kind of stems from that. And well, like I have a good bond with our first son now. It took a long time. I mean, it wasn't like I was resentful of him or
No.
anything. We just kind of both did what we were supposed to do, and we didn't really become friends or show that kind of affection until he was well over the age of like
Oh yeah,
of
for
like
sure.
5, I would say. It was like it was pretty cold, but
It was.
you know, cold and practical. But now doing this research over the past couple of weeks, it's really showed a lot, and there's stuff that I'm still learning, like what you were listening to earlier.
I know.
Like I never thought about like the placenta leaving a wound that's going to be there that needs to heal.
One of the videos that we'll be going over, yes.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
And also, I've got one of the Chinese proverbs and stuff that we'll go over too. That'll be a good one.
As far as I know, the Chinese, they lay up for about 30 days, and I think they're the ones that they seal the room, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody goes in, nobody goes out. The woman's just in there with a baby, and
I mean, it's ways, and it's like then you think of the Western ways to where some families are coming over right away, or you're having family visit in the hospital right away. You're having hospital births that are these bright lights shining on you. I mean, that's the first thing that this baby is seeing coming out of the womb. I mean, that is traumatic.
That's stressful. Yeah, that's like no wonder everybody has anxiety issues out here.
You know, if you've been following this channel, you know that ours was a home birth. We did it unmedicated, natural, everything that you can think of. I mean, I was the one that delivered our son, and it was a perfect birth. Couldn't have asked for a better circumstances.
Yeah, it really hurt. It really, really hurt.
Yes.
I remember, but I think the only thing that stopped it from hurting before was the fear again of disappointing my mother. I had better not. It's like I better not show weakness.
But no sign of tearing.
Oh no, and I mean like that.
I mean delivered quick.
Yeah, that was like 3 pushes. That was it.
Yeah.
And there was like no pain down there after like the first day. Like within 48 hours, I would say it was completely like no issue there at all. I was barely even bleeding, and compared to the first time where I bled like crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as I know, like biblically, it was supposed to be 40 days if you have a boy and 80 days if you have a girl of being impure, unclean.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's Arab culture. I'm not sure, but either way, you're supposed to like have a fast and prayers at the end of it.
Yes, and you abstain from any type of sex.
Right.
Which is what we've been doing. It's like what day? 23.
Yeah.
And we haven't done anything, and that's what my title is.
Yeah. So it's like kind of like a clickbait title, but it's like yeah, that's definitely something that isn't observed either. Because I know people will find out that they're about 2 weeks pregnant at about 40 days after they've already had birth, and so they've just stayed pretty much pregnant the entire time. So I mean, that means they were like 2 weeks early in that. And you find out that there's actual benefits to, that retention for you.
Yeah, I have a video on that too.
And I'm curious to see what that's about.
Me too. There's a lot. I mean, it should be all good. So let's see what we got. This first one is Leviticus 12, and talking about the Christian.
It's kind of a dangerous book.
The blood purification rituals.
Leviticus chapter 12. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, If a woman conceives and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean 7 days, as in the days of her monthly period. She shall be unclean. In the 8th day, the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. She shall continue in the blood of purification 33 days. She shall not touch any holy thing, nor come into the sanctuary.
So she shall not touch any holy thing or come to the sanctum.
Right. And even with Native Americans, they said we had our own special sweat lodge and everything, but you're not allowed to go there even when you're on your menstrual cycle. You're not allowed to go to these sacred ceremonies.
Well, there's the blood.
Yeah,
the blood could make it unclean,
And you draw like a lot of negative spirits that way.
Yeah, you can, and that's just it. That's a big thing.
Until the days of her purifying are completed. But if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her period, and she shall continue in the blood of purification 66 days.
Then you hear that? It's 2 weeks, but then she shall remain in the blood of purification for 66 days.
How long do you stay in the blood of purification for after the male child?
It didn't say.
See, that's the only one that I've heard with it being that small of a time frame. And,
Yeah.
I mean, because that's Old Testament.
That is.
And that's interesting.
But that was about 2 weeks is 14, so that's 80 days. And that's sort of what you'd said before. If it was a female,
yeah,
it would have been 80 days.
right. Interesting.
So,
I see the difference.
When the days of the purification are completed for a son or for a daughter,
see, 40.
she shall bring to the priest
So it
at
was,
the
huh?
door of the tent.
Look at. Yeah, I'm going to go back, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
can't hear it, and I
No,
can't
no,
see
but
it.
look at it says, for a son. It's 33, so 40 total.
Okay.
And then the 66, which is 80.
So you're only unclean for that week, and then after that you're just in purification mode.
Yeah.
40 days. Yeah. Awesome.
So it is. It's the same.
She shall bring to the priest at the door of the tent of meeting a year-old lamb for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering.
Which is exactly how you get the turtle doves on the Christmas trees. Huh? It says that she must bring to the priest or whatever an offering of a year-old lamb and a turtle dove for a sin offering. A pigeon, a young pigeon, or a turtle dove for a sin offering.
It's a sin. Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it's talking about the sexual relations, like
Yeah.
back to Adam. But interesting.
He shall offer it before the Lord and make atonement for her. Then she shall be cleansed from the fountain of her blood. This is the law of her who bears, whether a male or a female.
I
If
guess,
she
yeah.
cannot afford a lamb, then she shall take 2 turtle doves,
Okay, if she can't
or
afford a
2
lamb, then she
young
shall take 2 turtle
pigeons,
doves or 2 young
the
pigeons.
one for a burnt offering,
One for a
and
burnt
the
offering,
other
the other
for
for
a
a sin
sin
offering.
offering. The priest shall make atonement for her, and she shall be clean.
That was a good one.
So it is not just a week. It is like
Yeah.
40 days.
The 40 days. Exactly. Oh, come on. Okay, now this is another good one. I like what this guy has to say a lot. Another yogi, mystic, and visionary. He says a lot of good stuff, and this is on that same subject. So we shall listen to it.
I said there is so much effort and struggle to design and shape human mind when we are out of womb. Is there any way you know, sir, to design human mind when we are inside womb? That's my question.
At home? Is that what you're asking?
Inside womb.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Who is pregnant? If you do not know this, maybe in northern part of the country it's largely almost gone totally. In south it's still little alive in the villages, but there also it's wiped out quite a bit. If you do not know this, from preconception to conception, to various stages of pregnancy and delivery, and as long as the mother is feeding the child, there's an entire established process in this country as to how a woman should eat, what she should do, what kind of people she should interact with, what kind of form she should look at, what kind of form she should not look at, what kind of sound she should hear, what kind of sound she should not hear. All this was very much there. But we must also understand life has changed. Today women are going to work, they have to get into that horrible bus where they're pushed around, it doesn't matter she's pregnant, and all kinds of things, all kinds of fumes, all kinds of sounds, all kinds of noises, all kinds of abuse, every kind of thing happening to her. In some way, we are doing that to the child also. There is no job in the country or in the world where you can take off for 1.5 years and get back to the job
Yeah.
to fulfill this. For various reasons, we are not taking the business of manufacturing the next generation of people with sufficient care. We are not paying enough attention to it, for which we will pay a price. Over a period of time, we will pay an immense price for that. But we are definitely not taking enough care about it in the entire world, not just in this country. Because we've got all kinds of social situations which does not allow that space for a woman to dedicate that kind of time and attention. See, being pregnant is not just about reproduction. We're literally manufacturing the next generation of people, isn't it? Is it not important, of all the products that you produce on this planet, is it not most important that we produce wonderful human beings for the future generation? Is it not the most important thing?
And I mean, with him saying that, it's look at what is being produced out there. Look at what is coming out there right now. It's the product of the Western, the fall of Western civilization, of what they're doing. They are creating the safe space that can't handle how to even look at another person anymore.
Yeah, just today I watched a news article, I watched a news thing about this 2-year-old that they found dead in a dumpster.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I gotta see that.
They have, she's on her 6th child now, and now she's in prison, and she went, and it's the baby daddy and her, baby daddy. We went through that before. Not a husband, not a boyfriend, but baby daddy.
Yep.
And she was beaten on her kids to the point where they had called the cops on her, and then the cops were like, well, the baby went into her arms and wasn't like upset or anything, so obviously nothing bad is happening here, so they failed. And what are those children that are left behind going to grow up to be?
Exactly.
They're gonna grow up repeating the same exact patterns that they've
Yes.
seen all of their life and just be completely, just trash, useless to society. There's a small chance that they might be able to have some insight and turn shit around, but it's a really small chance. They're not being raised in loving households. It's
I know.
They're little paychecks and nothing more. So
That's such a sad part about it.
and I find that happens a lot in the city.
It does. It really does.
Nobody's thinking. It's like, and that's where you get, again, like we were talking about last week, people that want to be child free or the antinatalists. They don't want to bring children into this sort of existence. When it should be the main focus is bringing better people into this world to fight that kind of darkness and
Yes. And I mean, I ask this. We get these people that are like, well, I don't want to bring a kid into this world, the world that we live in. It's gotten so bad. And I ask this question. Please answer me. If you're one of those people, please answer me this. When has the world ever been a place where
it's a good idea?
It would be a good idea. I mean, there was depressions. There was always something for some sect of people that there was an issue.
Yeah,
always.
There's been wars. Like I said, the little Jewish babies being afraid that
Yeah.
they're going to be taken by the Egyptians and thrown to the crocodile.
Exactly.
Rival tribes out in the desert and out here in the Americas where they would just come and cut the hands off of the babies so that they could count them up later and get rewarded by their own tribe. It's like,
I mean, this is just it. It's like there's never been a good set. It's you have to make it yourself. You have to be the difference in the world
Yeah.
that the world needs.
You at least have to create a space away from that, a safe place, a real safe place, not a safe space, but a real safe place in order to raise a family and raise better people. That's the whole deal. You're supposed to do that.
Yes.
You make it. You make it better.
And that's just another thing, is these ones that are like, well, with my genetics, I don't want to pass that on. I don't want to have to keep doing this over and over again. I don't want all that. And I say, okay, I do understand that to a point. But then what you do, if that's really your case, what you need to do is then go find a mate that will cancel out those qualities.
Right. I mean, if it's like if it's a serious genetic thing, like if it's a genetic thing, not a behavioral thing, but
Yes.
an actual genetic thing. Yeah, I get that. Like the Pompeii's disease is one of those things, and I don't necessarily believe that Down syndrome is even one of those things.
No.
There's a very handful of crippling diseases that maybe you shouldn't breed.
And again, then there are kids that need to be adopted that are perfectly good.
Right.
So what's the excuse there? You just don't want to have kids. Most of them are very, very selfish, and all they care about is themselves and the fact that it'll cut into their own time.
Right.
So their time to go party, when that's not what life is about.
Like seeking happiness.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be happy. They don't understand that that's not the point. You're not supposed to be happy all the time. You're not supposed to seek happiness.
No.
It's something much deeper than that. And like behavioral issues, that's not an excuse. You have behavioral issues, I have behavioral issues.
Yeah.
And we find a way to cancel those out with each other and be better and raise better people for the future.
We have. Very much so.
And I don't, like a lot of people say they don't want to bring more little consumers into this world. We'll teach them not to be. Teach them to be the resistance. Teach them to fight against that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Raise them with your ideals in mind. I don't understand, like, shying away from having them isn't going to solve anything for this world.
No, it won't.
But, that's just never, it's not thought of now.
No, it's not.
It's a really selfish
generation. Yeah, we live in a very selfish world. That's unfortunate circumstance.
But we have created a social situation and an economic situation where there is no such possibility to take care of these things. To whatever extent individual women or individual families can take care of it, they can take care of it. But for the larger society, it's out of question because things have changed. You can't turn it back just like that. The intelligence of the body is such, if you already do not know this, if a woman delivers a male child, the quality of the milk that she produces is in a certain way. If she delivers a female child, the quality of the milk is totally different. If she delivers twins, one male and one female, one breast will ooze certain type of milk, another breast will ooze another kind of milk. This is the level of intelligence invested in this body. We have to treat it with that much care. This is not some crude machinery. This is the finest piece of technology on the planet, isn't it? Yes or no? This is the finest thing. In the entire evolutionary scale, these millions of years of work that nature did to produce this.
This generation thinks they can just walk away from that.
Well, yeah, and I just thought about that too, and it's like the twin situation. So maybe that's why we're getting these transgenders too.
Feminine men, masculine women.
Because they're drinking off of the reverse side.
Right, could be. Or just because of the imbalance of the woman in question, maybe she's producing the wrong type of milk that is required for the brain development.
Yes.
But like he says, millions of years to get to this point. And these people think I can just walk away from that because I'm not happy. It doesn't make me happy. It's like I don't think we really have that choice. I don't feel that I have a choice. I see myself as a vessel, and as the gods are going to use me, they're going to use me. As nature and science wants to use me, it's going to use me. You know,
It's true.
there's no reason at my age it should have been that easy to conceive, carry, and birth and breastfeed. I mean, having some issues with that, but that's my own mental issue, you know. But there's no reason that should have happened so easily,
Exactly.
with the exception that all of the younger generations are deciding that they want to opt out of it. You
And
know?
so more needed.
So we're the most viable option, and that's kind of like scary.
It is.
You know?
Yes.
But you know, as the gods dictate, so shall it be, and
Yes.
I'm not gonna fight that. But that's like the whole my body, my choice thing too. I don't believe in that. It's not your body. It belongs to the gods. It belongs to nature.
Yep.
It's like not your choice. You do as is dictated.
You do.
As
you
is
really,
written,
yeah,
you know?
you really do.
And when I say
So
as
mote it
is,
be.
as is written, I always use that. I say as it is written, and I'm not talking about in a book somewhere. I'm talking about like on your DNA,
Yes.
in your soul, on your very fabric of being. It is written what is expected of us, and I'm not going to question that.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly. As it is written, so mote it be.
exactly.
But
So,
in our desperation for economic well-being, I think we are not paying the kind of attention that this needs, the kind of care that this needs, so that this can function at the highest level and can also produce human beings for the future who are of a certain kind. So how to develop the brain when they're in the womb? It's very important that
yeah.
the atmosphere in which the child is growing up is kept in a certain way, least amount of disturbance, with right kind of reverberations, right kind of sounds, right kind of food, everything. Today, they're barely nourished, the pregnant woman in most part of the country, they're barely nourished. Where is the question of right kind of vibrations, right kind of atmospheres? One thing we can do for this is, every home, if possible, every working place, we can have a consecrated space. Today, slowly they're coming up with instruments which can measure the reverberations of certain objects. We can create
Even still, every morning I ask you to put the on. You know,
Yes.
for that reason. It's like if for the past what 3 or 4 years, that's how we've opened our own day.
Yes.
And it like clears the space, it changes the vibration of the day, and it's like
Exactly.
if it's not going when I wake up, I'm really pissy about it, and it's
Yeah.
like I need it for him as much as possible to have that
That constant.
that tone.
Yes.
You know, it's I think it's Buddhist, I think, but I don't know if it's Buddhist, right?
Yeah.
Tibetan
Buddhist.
right?
Yeah.
And it's just it's like an hour of just chanting, and then a thing, you know, and it's like that just purifies the space, you know.
Yes, it does.
And so, like you're saying, we have people that aren't even thinking about the nutrition properly. How are we going to even think about tones and vibrations and
Yes,
everything?
that's very true.
If they can't even grasp the basic concept of the importance of nutrition.
Yeah.
And you know how I go with that too.
Oh, yeah.
If I don't eat, I don't care.
Ah!
I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna kill you. You know, I will kill you and eat you myself.
Yep.
Then where would I be?
Better have food ready.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
consecrated spaces, or we can create consecrated objects, which at least at that time she can carry upon her body, so that kind of, to some extent, it's not the best solution, to some extent it neutralizes the outside impact to whatever extent possible. Or if she lives in a home, the place where she sleeps and other things are taken care of,
Yes,
some
yes,
amount
yes.
of respite can be there for that new life which is blossoming within the womb.
What are you doing?
Now, that guy is really good with his everything that he talks about.
He's a little liberal on abortion and stuff, but
Yeah.
only because this is really hard.
Really?
He says it's just a 12 to 16 weeks.
Yeah.
It belongs to you, and then beyond that, it belongs to the world.
Yeah. All right, this one is called Lizzie Leo describes traditional 40-day Chinese postpartum.
I'm curious. 40 day.
40-day. Yeah.
Okay. I've heard about the 30-day one with the Chinese.
Yeah, this is
And it's when I heard that Chinese women just keep working through it.
They
And,
do.
and I was like, well, no, they don't work like they don't work outside in the
Yeah.
rice paddies like I was told. They have to work within that little confinement space and,
Yep,
and learn
they
how
do.
to. I think a lot of it comes down to breastfeeding, since it can be such a challenging thing. It's like they want you to like really sit there
Of
and
course.
focus, and I'm like 2.5 weeks behind on that because
Yeah, because you just got messed up.
I didn't know, and you just think that should be something that naturally happens, but you really do have to work at it, and it does take a lot of focus. It's a really big mental game,
Oh, it is for sure.
and
You get very frustrated.
mhm.
I mean,
When he switches back and forth from the bottle to the breast, it's like he just becomes dumb. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. I just want it to come freely, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you just did this a little bit ago. Why can't you do it again?
exactly.
And then so you have to like, okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna try it again, and usually,
And we'll get this.
yeah, and usually it's enough. So I think a lot of that confinement comes because of that. It's like it's needed. Like
Yes.
in Arab culture, they give you. I had that whole study that was talking about like the difference between like what Americans eat and what
Yeah,
what
yes.
the Arab culture eats, and it's like they really have like a big emphasis on protein and a lot of leafy greens and stuff. Whereas in America, they eat a lot of bread products and pastas and
Even, I mean, I've got a stepsister that comes from Kenya.
right.
A couple of different relatives that come from Kenya. And it's like for them to come from there to here is so different. And
You have
to
so
see
much bread.
the different ways that they take it is very interesting too, because they come over here and our bread is so easily accessible. It's like they're stockpiling it in the room because they're like, well, I don't know when I'm going to get more. Because over there you don't really get bread that often.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Because it's not really that good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like.
So I mean, that's what my step, what is it?
She would be like wait.
Step cousin.
Yeah, I guess because.
Yeah, that's what my step cousin did. She was stockpiling bread in her room, and my dad was had to go in there and be like, listen,
just
here,
whenever you want.
you don't need to stockpile it. We'll go to the store and get it when you need it. We have it here. And just let her know. And she's been here for quite a while now and is
integrated
really well.
But see, it's really unfortunate too because she fell into a lot of African women, especially from Kenya and Nigeria. They fall into Western ways
so quickly.
So do a lot of the Filipinos.
Yes.
And you've got those too.
Yep.
Remember Rona Lee?
Yes.
And I think actually both of them ended up having babies out of wedlock, and
Yep.
they are not with those people at all.
Exactly.
So it's like it's really interesting when they come over here and this stuff is so easily accessible. It kind of shatters their culture.
It does. Yes.
And it's like all I've sought to do is to go back to our original roots because it worked. It worked for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And in the span of like 250 to 300 years, the West out here has completely destroyed it.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like I'd rather go back to where it was working for thousands of years.
Me too.
Than fall victim to this. So, like when it comes to dietary restrictions here, of course we have we don't eat pork and we don't eat shellfish. We don't.
Yes.
Obviously, we don't eat rabbit. I didn't know that. I never really did anyway. But,
I was gonna say we never had the mean to.
But like I try to stick to nuts, and as far as sugars go and candies, it's just dark chocolate.
Yes.
We keep pastas and breads to a minimum. Lots of vegetables, lots of fruits. We have lots of fruits. We end each night with fruit, and then good quality meats.
Yes.
Lots of chicken, and I eat beef, but it's kind of like necessary out here.
Yeah, it is.
It's a hard life. It
really is.
When you find out you're supposed to be eating about 2,300 calories per day when you're breastfeeding, it's like it puts into perspective how much you have to eat.
Yeah.
When you're eating healthy.
It really does.
So yeah, it's the diet alone in the West is completely different.
Yes.
Than what you're gonna find here or like in Arab culture.
It really is.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm curious about this one.
Well, hi, Lizzie.
Hi, Pam.
I'm glad you could join the Birth Story Medicine community today. I met Lizzie Liao through an email, and she wrote to me about her very interesting experience, a traditional Chinese 40-day postpartum recovery that was led by her mother-in-law. So we had a chance to talk, and now I want to share with all of you Lizzie and her insights and experience with this traditional postpartum support. So thank you for coming to share with us today. So go ahead and tell us, you were living in China, in Shanghai for 8 years,
Yes.
and that's where you met your husband,
Yes.
Shanghai.
who actually happened to be from Long Island, you told me.
Yes, we grew up 40 minutes from each other and met halfway around the world.
That's pretty wonderful. And you fell in love, and then 15 months ago, your child was born, and your child is
My daughter is named Lila, and she was born in the States. We planned to give birth in China, where we were living and had our businesses. And then COVID happened, and we ended up relocating and coming back home, back to the New York area. And yeah, it was a big surprise, but one that was truly life-changing.
Like the best time.
When I was in my third trimester, my mother-in-law approached me and she asked if I would be open to taking part in kind of a facilitated recovery. Now, I had done so much preparation for the birth process and was really fixated on that. And I'd done a little bit of postpartum reading, but was totally naive to the journey that the postpartum time is. So I hesitantly agreed, not fully understanding what her intentions were. Although I had seen in China when I was living in Shanghai what some of my friends had gone through, which was essentially being totally off the radar for the first month or two after they gave birth. And essentially what my mother-in-law did for me was facilitate what is called 坐月子, which translates to sitting the month. And it's for 30 or 40 days in my case. It's a period of time where I was mothered by my mother-in-law. I was told to rest and recover, and that was all that I was allowed to do.
See, but that's one thing, and you have to have the people willing to do that in order to do it.
Yeah.
And we were not that fortunate.
No, but from here on out, since I'm the matriarch of this family, that is the way that it'll be, provided that they're willing to be so. But I want to push it. Like our sons, if they choose wives, that's like, that's where I'll come in to help them, and they might have family that believes that as well. But yeah, that was not present for us. Like I said, it was like you better hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And you better not show weakness.
And I mean, that's the only way in my book to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, with our first son, like you were talking about, we hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
We had him at home. That night you slept. Next morning we were in the hospital. You spent 3 days in the hospital.
Well, see, like, he was born at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then by 6 o'clock in the morning, we were headed out.
Yeah, you rested a little bit.
To Bakersfield, so about 3 hours.
Yeah.
I slept for about an hour because I had to clean up. That took time. And they bled everywhere. And then, we went to Bakersfield.
Yep. You were there for 3 days in
Which
the
wasn't
hospital.
restful because, Western hospitals are not restful.
No.
But I am grateful for one thing from that experience, and that was them teaching me how to breastfeed and have them latch properly. But it didn't happen still in the hospital because they kept, we'll give you some time to bond with your baby, and then 15 minutes later.
Yeah, 5 minutes later, they were always in the room. It was like, how are you doing?
Do you need anything for pain?
And it was just so, I mean.
And they gave me so much pain medication. I mean, I was taking pain medication at the time, and they gave me so much I couldn't even handle it. It was like 2, what were they? Tylenol 3s every freaking 4 hours.
And then they wanted to come in with DHS and be like, oh, why are you on? Because you're giving it to me, the hospital.
Right, and the first time that I even went in, I had known that I was pregnant, and they didn't do a pregnancy test or anything. They just went ahead and gave me a morphine shot as soon as I told them that I was having a severe abdominal pain for hours and hours and hours. And like, okay, we'll give you morphine. And so they went all the way back to that. And they're like, well, when you came in, you had morphine in your system. And I said, look again and see when it was administered because they did it to me. And oh, okay, you know.
Yeah.
And then I remember this really nice chic fellow. He came in and he was like, can I look at the baby? Can I evaluate him? And he picked him up. And, you know, I'm like watching him like a hawk over there. And he looks him over and he hands him to me. He's like, it's a good baby. And then he looks at me. He's like, okay, so I have to tell you that, you know, it's like we found traces of opioids in his pee. And I was like, yeah, because I've already been here now for about 6 hours, and they've already given me 2 doses of Tylenol 3.
Yeah.
And he's like, they gave it to you now. Well, you know, and he asked me that a couple of times, and it's like, oh, okay. He's like, so then he goes out, and he wasn't too happy about it, but he wasn't mad at me. He was
mad at the staff.
At the staff, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's like, that's not. He's like, they already gave you stuff. They are, you know, I'm like, yeah, they gave it to me here. I had it here. And he's like, okay, you know, so it cleared all that up, but
well, yeah, because that kind of ruined because they like to see first,
right,
the situation,
right, because he was sleeping a lot,
yeah,
and he wasn't.
So they like to see, does he have anything in his system before they do anything? But they did it first, so he has to scrap all that, and they don't have anything to go off.
Right, and but he said, you know, he was good, and he was a good weight, and he was doing okay, and you know, but that was, I remember him just kind of being like. He was really gentle about it. I remember he sat on the bed and he talked to me about that. And then, you know, but it was like, I don't know, 3 days of hell. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. I was like, but then I didn't even make it home. And then we went all the way up to see my grandparents.
Yep.
And then every single day after that, we traveled, from Twin Oaks to here is 18 miles, so say 20 miles, and from here to Lake Isabella is another 20 miles, and from there to Kern, so 60 miles, so 120 miles every single day.
Yes.
For months.
Yeah.
You know, every single day after he was born, and a lot of the time I was driving myself.
Yeah, and you never got the break that you so truly deserved.
No, and I remember kind of on some days being so tired that, you know, they would let me lay in the chair there at the shop, but not very often, and I still had to travel. And
it was all your mother's idea, who was a nurse.
Yeah.
She was the one that kept us going. Yeah. I had no say at the time because your mother was too controlling.
Yeah, and I mean, being a nurse, but I mean, it's Western medicine, though.
Yeah, Western,
you know,
nurse.
But she didn't learn from people like that. You know, like I said, most of my ideals came from her as in her youth.
Yeah.
Talking about keeping things natural and but something happened at that point, and I swear she was trying to punish me.
Yeah, we no longer talk to her.
No, not really by choice. I left it open, and she chose to stop talking to us, and I didn't pursue anything after that. You know?
It's like, it's fine if that's what you want.
Right. You know.
Watch what you ask for.
Right. I mean, I started a monastery, and I stopped taking medications, and I stopped using her money, and I said, okay, now it's pure and it's honest, and you can be part of my life, and it'll be good. And she was like, no, I don't want to be up there. I'm not going to go up there.
Exactly. Now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it wasn't by choice, but the longer that she was away, the more I started to see how much she had a part to play in my mental health, and my emotional health, and my anger issues, and you know, so it is what it is.
She was trying to turn us against each other.
All the time.
It was so much.
I mean, all the time, and you know, I just didn't want that.
No, we didn't need that.
Life, you know, and it's like, it's just been like kind of amazing the insight that's come since she's not been in our life, you know.
I know.
But, you know, like, at least when I was in the hospital, she'd bring me a plant, which is like, you're supposed to bring gifts and stuff, and then your mother comes along and she kicks me out of the chair.
I know.
I was in the hospital, I'm sitting in the chair, and I'm holding, you know, Tristan as a newborn.
I need to sit.
And my back is hurting. I need to sit, and I'm like sitting there like, and she's like, can I have that chair? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess. So I'm like, I'll go sit on the bed.
We don't talk to her anymore either.
Right.
The only one that's still in our life is my dad and stepmom.
Yeah.
Because they played our game and they went through the hoops.
Yeah, it was like, what did we ask? We didn't really ask much of anything. We didn't ask for money. We didn't ask for time. We asked for time. We asked them to be able to
write us a letter.
A
true letter, not like not through mail. Well, through mail, but not through like email.
Not email or anything, but like a letter. It mostly just to write to him to keep in contact.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. And he did. And then so he went back and forth for about 6 months doing that. And then it went to the next level. And then before you knew it, they were going camping together. You know,
Yeah, we
that's
went
all it
camping.
took. That's
We
all
he
it
took all of us to Great Wolf Lodge for a nice trip before the baby was born.
Yeah, that was
before
last
we knew
year.
about the baby.
Yeah, that was last
Yeah.
year. Yeah, that's crazy. It's amazing how much can change. And people think that it's so long. But even
Yeah.
if you count this laying in period, that's 10.5 months.
Yeah.
That's not even 1 year out of your life.
I know.
You know, I mean, that's nothing.
No, it's
You
not.
know, so it's like that. People seem like it takes so much of their time, but it really doesn't.
I know.
Yeah, Grandpa's awesome.
Yep.
Helped us
Probably
a
a
lot.
freaking tablet too.
I know, yeah, he just gave him a tablet.
An
for-
iPad.
for Christmas, early Christmas present, and you know, it's good. It's
Very good. Yes,
and just started with just keeping in contact.
it did. Yes.
But yeah, like going back to this, it's like I mean, we don't have any other girls in our family. We don't have any other women in our family to help me, so it's only been you guys that's had to pick up the slack.
Yes.
And you're doing women's duties, like the cooking and the taking care of the animals and keeping track of records. And that's a pain in the ass. It's not what you normally do.
No.
You know, if I had other women in my tribe, they should have been coming and doing
Exactly.
you know, so we have that to make do. But I will be that.
We are thinking of starting an organization. Turn off.
That's fine. You need a thing though.
We are thinking of starting an organization though, down the line to help women who are like us in time of needing support.
Yeah, like tribal people, people living off the grid, wild living people, people that don't want to deal with the government, people that don't want to deal with Western living, that do unassisted births or home births or whatever. Like my old order, I was in Bass Order for a long time. He's in Bass Order now. That should be something that should be extended because that's something we used to do.
Yes, exactly.
We were there for the conception and we were there for the birth and we were there for the time after.
Yeah.
Because even midwives, they're pretty much just there for the birth. They don't make meals before or after, and they don't help clean the house or pick up those women's duties that we have to do, you know. So I think that would be a really good thing to offer. And like I said, for our family and our tiny tribe, I'm definitely going to facilitate that.
Yes.
You know, it's like we're the first and we're the last, you know. And,
really true. Yes.
But it makes me bitter because it's like, you know, that's really sucky.
It is.
I'm grateful to have you guys be as compassionate and knowledgeable as you are, but it's still just like
you have to do your research.
It just doesn't hit the same way.
No.
You know.
So I stayed mostly in bed and in my room with my newborn daughter, breastfeeding her and just cuddling her basically. And my mother-in-law every day would make just these super nourishing broths and soups and stews and traditional porridges with ingredients like red jujube dates to help to balance and heal my uterus, and ginger to bring internal heat in my body, goji berries to help with adding minerals to my blood, and so many different really hearty and wholesome dishes. Everything was made fresh. She also had me stay warm and dry. So I was always wearing bathrobes and socks and different layers, even though I gave birth in August. And I made sure that anytime I showered, I would dry myself and my hair immediately. There's a saying in several cultures, but in China, 40 days for 40 years. And what that means is the first 40 days after a woman gives birth, this is a super crucial healing and recovery time that impacts the next 40 years of her life. Whenever I wanted to do more than just lay in bed and rest, my mother-in-law would warn me that later in my life, I would age quicker or get achy joints or problems with my brain health if I really didn't take it easy and allow for recovery early on. And having grown up in America where
she brought up that whole 40 days for 40 years thing, and she was saying that every time she felt like she wanted to do more than just basically lay in bed and nurse her baby and everything or eat, that she was warned that 40 years from now, like in the next 40 years, you're going to age quicker, you're going to have more joint pain, you're going to have brain issues and mental health issues. And
Yes.
like, that's absolutely true.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm hoping this time this kind of counters the first time that I had, but I can attest to that.
Yeah.
It's like there's been, especially in the mental health department for me, particularly
Yes.
involving being harshly suspicious and like of every intention. I think it stems from that.
Yeah.
Because it's like anytime somebody does something decent or good, I'm thinking, well, what's the angle? Why are you doing
But
that?
that's also some of how you were raised.
It's true. And it is kind of good to be wary, because every time I do let my guard down, people do end up fucking me over. You know? But it just seems like, particularly around the time that I go to bleed,
Yes.
I'm like really intensely suspicious of
It's
people.
true.
And no, you don't help me with this. I'll do it myself, because I don't think that you're going to do it right. All of that.
Yeah.
And I think it stems a lot from that. So it's absolutely true.
It is.
Or I'm told that, we can do it all as women, and we're strong and fierce, and bouncing back was kind of the expected way of being. It was a huge shift to be in this month kind of container where I was held and nurtured and received so much care, and wasn't expected to be back on my feet doing all the things right away. So it was a totally life-changing experience. I had a physical healing that was extremely quick. Emotionally, I felt so centered and grounded. And at the end of that experience, honestly, Pam, I felt better physically, with my energy, emotionally, spiritually, than I had in years. And that's waking up every 2 to 3 hours to feed an infant. So even with all the disrupted sleep, I felt so good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How did the 40 days end? Is there a ceremony or a ritual to close it, or how does that happen?
That's a great question. My mother-in-law was really focused on kind of the food and the rest container, and she wasn't as involved in kind of the more spiritual or ceremonial aspect. But what I did, because at the time I had started researching other cultures and their postpartum experiences, because I was absolutely fascinated by this. And after learning about other cultures that have a number of traditions, like in Mexico, the closing of the bones ceremony, or the burying of the placenta in certain Native American traditions, I felt really called to kind of create my own completion. So I actually did, I buried my placenta in the back of the garden, and had kind of a meditation, and used that experience as a chance to kind of feel complete in that container.
So in both in I can't say our culture, but at least in my tribes, because you come from Germanic and Russian background, I'm not really sure where they lie with that.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know.
But at least the way that I was taught, like this shit was taught to me, but we just didn't practice it. I mean, we did the burying of the placenta the first time, but it was not right.
No, that got screwed up by me.
But what we have is a naming ceremony, and that's when you do like a purification, you do a burning of like the soiled stuff.
Yes.
And you use those ashes and some of the dirt of the home where, because you're born at home.
The ground, yeah.
And you mix that together, and then you sprinkle it over the feet or put the baby's hands in it, and then it's like, if you have running water, you dip them in the running water, or you do like a baptism, and then you hold them up to present to the sky gods the new name, and then that's usually how that's ended.
Yes.
So like I remember doing that for him, but I remember doing it not too long after he was born. It wasn't that long after he was born.
No, it wasn't.
At all.
It wasn't.
And everybody in the tribe will write their wishes and their thoughts and their predictions for the baby, and we left those, I think, in the rock, like a scroll. And so there's definitely that. And the end of our lying in period this time coincides perfectly with the full moon,
which is perfect,
and we'll do it then. So that'll be like December 15th. I think.
December 15th.
So that's when ours will end, and then as far as the like purification of the body, to make sure that I'm ready to go back to the sanctum, there's you sage And there's traditionally fasting. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable with fasting, especially with the nutrition issue that I'm having now anyway. But then there's lots of prayers. There's certain prayers that have to be done. So I'll walk away to do those, and then I'll be able to be represented and be okay. You know, be able to go back to the sanctum, be able to do sanctum duties, because I'm not even allowed to do like lead prayers or anything during the pregnancy or the postpartum, because it's considered to be unclean, and I don't want to piss off the spirits.
Exactly.
So,
for sure.
So you've had to be leading that as well. But then I'll be able to do that, and then it just go back into doing what needs to be done.
Yes.
Sage, lots of sage.
Oh yeah.
But there's a ton of different kind of witnessing and traditions around the world, and including in China. But my experience, that was more of the rest and the food and the physical recovery.
So, what happened to your husband during this 40 days? Was he there? Is that an exclusive woman container just for women?
Yeah, so it was facilitated by my mother-in-law, and traditionally in China, older aunties or family friends or mothers or mother-in-laws are the ones that facilitate it. My husband was so incredible. He was very active and present in helping out with a lot of the household activities and taking care of my daughter. He was the king of bath time and diaper changes for her, but that's more of a modern way. And in certain mother-centered cultures that I've researched for my book, I found that certain men, they are literally excluded. They are kept out of the room or out of the hut or out of wherever the woman is based, or she'll even move on her own back into her parents or in-laws for that period of time. And that's for a number of reasons. But yeah, my husband was pretty involved in taking care of our daughter and also taking care of me. It was really beautiful. A lot of the times.
Yeah, I see. I don't think the males, like, I guess in some cultures it would make sense, but with the modern day, and like again with our situation, you know, I'm very involved. Our son's very involved with helping.
Yeah, in Bedouin culture, which is basically the other half of my tribal lineage, that's the way too. Yeah. Like the men are involved, and I thought, okay, so Arab culture is one thing. So I went and I looked for Bedouin culture, and I thought maybe they just keep going. Maybe the women keep going there because they always had to keep moving. They had to keep walking. But no, they too observed that 40 days. So that means everybody in the tribe would stop and wait, which they probably scheduled them all around the same time.
I was going to say, like how ours is scheduled right now for the winter time. Yeah, it wasn't the most ideal in some ways.
Yeah, almost died in the summer.
But it is when it comes to this, because of staying down, we've got nothing going on here. We're shut down for the year. You know, we're just hunkering down, letting the winter pass. So I mean, it works out perfectly.
Right. Yeah. So it was like, so that would mean that the whole tribe would stop, and the men would take care of stuff while, you know, the women did what they needed to do. So it's like we would set up special tents, and you know, they would bring hot water and they would do it. So I was thinking, where in the hell did the Western way come to be the way that it
Women
is?
wanting to be males. That's where it came from. Because, you know, they want to be the boss bees. They want to be better than a male is at the job. So therefore, if you're taking that role, you can't have it both ways and then have your pregnancy and be
true. Well, now you have to take care of me,
you know,
right?
now I have to take that 40 days, and I have to. No, they're going to be like, well, I got to get back to work right away.
I mean, and Bedouin women are tough. I mean, our very first jobs as children is shepherding, and it's the same thing out here in the American Southwest as well as Native Americans up north. You know, it's like it's shepherding, and we're walking. You know, carrying babies along, walking, always walking. You know, training animals and managing other people's children and teaching and doing all of these things. I mean, they're working really hard, and they still separate from that to go do what needs to be done, because I think they know it is really, in essence, just a very small portion of your life.
It is, yes.
It's not even a whole year from start to finish. It's like 10.5 months.
Yeah.
9 months for the pregnancy, and then another 6 weeks or so for the postpartum. It's not that
no,
long.
It's not.
So I think everybody just has to put that into perspective.
Very much so, yes.
And like we're talking about cultures that have done this for thousands of years.
And yes, for some reason,
in the 250 years in America.
I was gonna say in the Americas, it's like it hasn't even been that long, and they're wanting to be like, no, this is the way it's done.
Modern America, yes.
Yeah, modern America. It's like we don't stop. We just keep going. I mean, we're not even looking at the prehistoric ages or the ages where they had threats were always there.
Yeah, right.
And they still stopped then.
Right. Exactly. I mean, even down in South America. I mean, remember the movie Apocalypto? You know, she gives birth in a freaking pit in the water.
In the water. The water's rising. She doesn't have a choice. She's holding the baby above her out. And, I mean, it's amazing.
They still would have found a way to...
Yes.
I don't know if they did in that movie or not because they were displaced, I mean, there's always been circumstances. But, it's like... It's just incredible to me. It's like it just hasn't been that long here.
No.
And they've just completely disassembled all tradition.
I know.
And even when I've looked it up, they said, well, there's no real risk of going back to work after, a week or two after giving birth.
Oh, there is.
But there is.
There's big factors because the baby doesn't get, it's not necessarily with mom.
Right. And that's
the baby's then left with strangers or with family members that can harm them. I mean, that's why we've seen so many more scenarios of rape, many scenarios of distrust.
Right.
It's because of that.
Yeah. So they can't. I mean, so yeah. I think it was shit. I don't know. See, my mind is muddled, but it was like it was the medical board, the American medical board, and they were the ones that said that. It was like, oh, there's no real risk. You can go back and you're pretty well healed, and it's like, but that's just not true.
Mm-mm.
It's like mental health and emotional health and physical health, all of that of the woman and the baby are completely compromised.
Yes.
And this is kind of like a big experiment for us because how I have been over the past 14 years. We'll now see how we are in the years to come.
I agree. I want to see the difference. I'm looking forward to it.
When I would be feeding Lila, both my hands were occupied. So he would come in with whatever my mother-in-law had made and he would feed me.
Oh, wow. That's a real change for your relationship, for him to be there for you in that way.
It really was. So I know our viewers on YouTube are going to want to meet you and talk to you and learn even more from you. So tell us how they can meet you and what kinds of things you're offering. Thank you so much. So I have 2 focused offerings right now. The first is one-on-one private coaching for prenatal and postpartum. And that coaching really is private sessions where I hold space and help the mama or mama-to-be process on a kind of spiritual and emotional level. And also I offer nutrition counseling as well as preparation for postpartum. So for a lot of the mamas I work with, I help them to kind of create their own version of that 坐月子 sitting in month based on their home environment or budget or goals and intentions. The other offering that I have, Pam, is I work with women in small, intimate containers in the form of women's circles. So I host women's circles for expecting mamas for pregnancy, as well as for early postpartum. And I found that one element of my experience postpartum that was benefited by kind of the modernizing was that I was able to virtually connect with other women in the postpartum time. In some of the traditional postpartum days, women are really secluded and kept to themselves. And so I found that connection is really important. So my 2 offerings, one-on-one coaching for prenatal and postpartum, and then the women's circle, so small group connection.
Oh, that's great, because some people need that community connection and some people really need one-on-one. So tell us we'll put up your a link to how they can reach you.
Yeah.
And you'll come back and see us.
I would love.
And I do have to say that even though I wasn't that I haven't asked for it and they're not really part of my tribe, like Kimberly Bayar, she's always been there. She messaged me right afterwards, and she's been sending me little tips and
How you
tidbits
doing?
about,
Yes.
you know, it's like, yeah, don't give up on the breastfeeding thing. It was exactly the same for me. So I mean, that there's always
Support.
that extended, you know, support.
And it's amazing. It really
And
is.
she comes from the same kind of cultural
Yeah.
background, so she understands, and she's got the
She
same
had the
kind
same
of
issues,
body types.
yeah.
You know, she's got those indigenous nipples, so it's really hard for smaller mouths to latch and everything. And so she's given me a lot of invaluable information
and encouragement, because you know, okay, it's not just me.
Right, exactly, yeah, because that is a common thing. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell, you know? It's like,
What am I doing wrong?
Always.
Why, you know?
It's like, yeah, so yeah, at least in some small way, because I'm not a very social person, but I mean, even that has been beneficial.
Yes.
And even though you paid for the service of Deanna making food, I chose her foods because they were really nutritious and,
Yeah.
you know, like filling and then like
Sure.
hearty and everything. So
And I mean, she helped us so much with that.
so she, you know, just bringing it all the way down to us and everything, like, you know, like you said, it was a paid service, but it just felt like, you know, it goes a little bit beyond that.
Yeah.
And she was chosen for that reason, you know, like I liked the way that she cooked and the way she made things, and it was home. It was like home, you know,
Yeah.
home stuff. So
It was great.
homey and good. Anyway, but yeah, because I like my seclusion in all
Yes.
things, you know, like especially recovery. I like my seclusion, but it's always good to have other people on the outside that know. And she was there, ready to go if something went wrong.
Yeah. She said,
You know.
we'll take to get you to the hospital if need
Right.
be, or whatever, you know?
Yeah, so that's always good to have an extension.
Yes.
And like I said, I would love to be able to offer that service of being able to just go and help women like take care of their household duties and have food made and everything.
Yes,
I think
for
that's
sure.
one thing that's seriously overlooked.
It is.
I mean, like I never thought about it. I never thought about the after.
No.
You know, it's like just maybe, you know, for like a week or so after, bring us a couple of meals and they'll be good. And now it's like,
Yes.
no, if I have to do that again, it's like push it to the end. I think I need it more at the end, like now,
Yeah.
than anything.
For sure.
And it's like that's not just me. It's like, you know, it alleviates the pressures from you guys because you're just not like made for this stuff that we
No,
do.
there's a lot to do. I mean, our household takes a lot to run it. We had it down when all three of us were doing stuff. But when you're down because you need to focus on what you need to focus,
Right.
there's a lot more that has to go on.
It's like, I mean, you've now experienced it a couple of times. You get up and you cook and you cook and you cook and you cook.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're done with one thing, you have to make the next thing. It's either for us or for the dogs, or make sure that the
Because I
horses
mean,
are fed.
we make our own dog food even.
Yeah.
We're not just, you know, it's all non-processed. It's all
Every day is fresh.
raw.
Yeah. Yeah, we have raw foods, and then every day we have fresh food.
Yeah.
That's available. It has to be made every single day, no matter what. And you know, those are usually my duties. So now you're trying to do your duties.
Yep.
And take care of us and do those things, and that's really hard. You know, it's
Lucky for me, I've got a boss that is very caring. You know, I've been off for about a month now, and he hasn't cared. You know, he's brought us stuff. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, here, you know, congratulations." And
It was raining the other day, and there was a truck outside, and they were, oh God, who is that? What is that? And then it was like, it's Steve, and he goes out and he had a turkey and some diapers for us. You know,
Yeah.
that's awesome. You know, but
you know, and if I need something, then he's always there for the help. You know, if you see this, thank you, Steve. You help a lot.
that was amazing, really unexpected, and
Yep.
I would love that. Yes. And if anyone has questions, my website is my name, LizzieLiao.com, LizzYLiao.com. And I would love to connect with anyone for a conversation to learn about how they're doing, what's present for them, and if they maybe had their own postpartum experience or hopes for it. It's
I
a
don't
fallacy
look at
that we
very
need to be
simple.
doing
Like,
this
I've
on our
got
own.
time.
This isn't a solo journey. This really is
Not
something
always.
that every woman deserves community and
Always.
support as
You know, and I
she
think-
undergoes the biggest transition of her life.
I agree. Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
That was a good one.
What does it mean when I say
Why the first 40 days are critical, which we've kind of already gone through that.
Okay, what else do we got?
Okay. This is the longest one. The other ones are
Iron in a soul.
maybe we'll save that for different. No?
No, what else we got? If there's nothing else, we'll come back to it.
This video is for dads or partners who
Yeah,
just had a
this-
baby
this
or
one
have a baby
anyway,
on the way.
because it's-
I am
know,
also a
it's crazy.
father
Yeah.
to a little boy and a
Shit,
little
think
girl.
about it.
Both of them were born right here at home. This video, though, is not just for biological fathers and husbands, but for partners. Maybe you're not the biological father. I'm still talking to you. This video has information I wish I had when I was starting out. Keep that in mind while you're watching and enjoy.
The postpartum period. It's such a crucial.
I think I'm gonna do my own setup too for people to see, as you know, I've been a father of 2 now. Both delivered at home. I delivered one. Mother-in-law delivered the first one. I think I'm gonna do my own video though, and just say everything and try to let people know, you know, more.
It's like if you're thinking about doing a home birth, and this is what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of women are different. Like, you have a woman that doesn't like to be touched, but some women like to be like completely like held from behind or stroked or whatever. I just like, don't touch me. You know?
Yeah.
So you got to talk about all those different.
My
things.
touch will usually soothe you, but it's like in a situation
God,
like that,
it
it
hurt me so
wasn't
bad.
going to. So I mean, that it just
Yeah.
the way it is.
What to expect if she starts,
Yeah.
shooting your head off, not to take it personally, just stay calm and
Yep.
like that's
Exactly.
If the baby looks blue, that's okay because it's normal.
Exactly. Scared me on that one.
Crucial time for mom to heal. And it's such a significant time for both you and your partner to bond with your baby. And we want to explain why. If you're a dad who wants to educate yourself on labor and delivery from another dad's perspective, then subscribe to the channel.
Coffee. When's the best time to drink
The
coffee?
postpartum period is typically defined as 40 days, and this is the ideal goal. It's important that your partner has that time to heal that she needs, because her body just went through a major metamorphosis.
Yeah, just thinking about it in any way, the way that the female body, what it has to go through with birth, it's got 9 months that everything gets pushed up. All the organs are shoved up and into like in tight spaces. Your stomach is. That's why they have to pee so much. I mean, it's something else to think about. And then within a matter of however long the labor is, it's done.
And then 6 weeks.
And the
just to go
stomach's
back.
empty again. And then it's about 6 months to just go the other way.
6 weeks.
6 weeks,
That's
yeah.
The 40 days. That's
Yeah.
the point of the 40 days.
Yeah, 6 weeks to go the other way. So imagine how much that's hurting.
Yeah, back to pre-pregnancy.
Yes.
So it's like,
Between the hormones, between the movement of everything within the body.
mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
It's kind of
incredible.
Yeah, it's like no time at all. Really,
Yeah. It's the miracles of birth. I mean,
It's
women have an amazing system.
And it's up to you guys to
Right
notice that we've been doing this for thousands of years, and that we're gonna be okay.
Yes,
that's like,
it
just
is.
follow her lead through stuff and just be that constant, because it's like at that point our world is full of inconsistencies and full of like the unknowns. So
Yes.
you being that constant and being secure in that's like all the world.
Exactly, it is.
It's gonna be okay.
Yes.
Right after birth, estrogen and progesterone levels dramatically drop, while oxytocin floods her system. These hormones affect just about every part of the body. Breastfeeding moms also need to watch out for vitamin and mineral depletion, and to keep up with those prenatal vitamins as those are funneled to the milk. Hormones have an effect on the bones and joints too. During pregnancy, her body makes a hormone called relaxin, which makes all of mom's joints looser. It can take up to 5 months for joints to return to their earlier solidity. If this isn't your partner's first birth, she will experience after pains, which begin shortly after birth and last for about 2 or 3 days. These help shrink the uterus to its previous size and location behind the pubic bone, which takes about 6 weeks. During this time, your partner will have an internal sore about the size of your hand. That's where the placenta is attached to the uterine muscle that needs to heal. Too much physical activity disrupts this healing process. If your partner had a natural birth, you can be sure that she's going to be sore and swollen for quite a while, especially if she required stitches. Your partner really needs those 40 days to heal. Birth is beautiful and amazing, but it's also a very strenuous marathon.
One thing we know for sure, historically, postpartum care has been wildly misunderstood.
For nearly 9 months, you will have been providing a snug home for him. You'll pack a bag to take along. You don't need to hurry. There will be plenty of time. Of course, your husband may get a little excited. Don't forget to telephone the relative. Are the announcements ready? Don't forget to get cigars and candy for the office. Ah, well, Father will take care of that. Now for a well-earned rest.
A lack of support can be associated with postpartum depression. Research, it shows that increased social support is actually associated with less postpartum depression. The World Health Organization, it describes the postnatal period as the most critical, yet the most neglected phase in the lives of moms and babies. Understanding of what a woman goes through after giving birth, it's obviously changed a ton over time, especially in how it's treated. Hippocrates wrote about anxiety, fear, and agitation by women after childbirth. Those ideas still linger in diagnosis and treatment today. For thousands of years, scientists and doctors, they would lump together any unexplained emotional or biological issues that women would experience into one word: hysteria. The word originates from the Greek word uterus and was attributed to what was called a wandering uterus. The uterus would just wander around the body, causing all sorts of problems. During the Renaissance, many patients of hysteria were prosecuted as witches. Fortunately, science has come a long way since then. Postpartum depression, it affects roughly 15% of moms all over the world. The misunderstood catch-all idea of female hysteria is no longer recognized and was officially removed from the DSM in 1980. Postpartum depression can affect about 10% of fathers as well.
There's a common misconception that it only affects women and not men. Sam Stevens is a therapist and has an important message for other dads. Partners can get it as well.
But we don't talk about it. When men get depressed or anxious, it tends to look like just checking out or becoming irritable and angry. There's an increase in oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone, and there's a decrease in testosterone in men. We used to be expected to be just the protector and the provider, and now we're expected to be loving, caring, nurturing husbands and fathers. That puts us into territory that really was mom's territory traditionally.
We have links in the description for help. Postpartum blues, commonly known as baby blues, is a brief, milder postpartum mood disorder, which can occur in up to 80% of all mothers. At a minimum, mom needs 2 weeks of continued care and rest. Even if she feels able, don't push her. Her body is still healing. Ask for help. First and foremost, don't be afraid to ask for and accept assistance. Maybe it's help with meals or cleaning or childcare or holding your baby so that you and your partner can take a nap. Because you don't have to be superhumans. You don't have to handle it all yourselves.
And that's very important to either to schedule things around each other or to have somebody else who can come in, because when you're doing stuff, like we've got a good schedule right now to where I take the baby for a while so you can rest, because otherwise with people not sleeping, and if they just crash, the baby could easily die of the simplest things.
Like we sleep with him. I know it's like not gonna go well here, but we sleep with him
Yes.
in the bed, and you're not supposed to do that. But it's like one of us is always
awake,
alert stuff, and like. But if I had slept the way that you said that I slept this morning, that and you were not available, and then we'd be in trouble.
Exactly.
I mean, I completely crashed.
That's why there needs to be somebody at all times.
Yeah, I mean,
and finding your schedule and finding the best ways are the way to do it.
Yeah. And like I don't know, I don't believe in the whole keeping men out of the room thing, because it's like it's been really beneficial to have you here in the bed with us to nap and to be to like just be there, because you're releasing oxytocin and everything, and we're supporting each other in that way too, and getting that rest, it's like beneficial.
It is, for sure.
But it's another Western ideation to reject help.
Oh yeah.
Whether you're male or female, it's like,
here we go.
No, I can handle it myself, and it's like,
I know.
Why do you do that? And it's like, and I'm not afraid to say, well, you just take him for a few minutes, or
no, and I'm not afraid. I mean, now when we had our first son Tristan over here, yes, I was very scared to just take him. I was very scared of different things, But as you get more comfortable, it's a lot easier. You start understanding. You start knowing what you're capable of, what you can do. You just have to let that be.
And the crying, it's frustrating, but then you just realize it's just a noise.
Yeah.
It's just a noise, and it's it's not like.
And there's a reason for the crying,
Yeah,
so it's
right.
it's
Feel
it's
the need.
find out what's going on, why, to get it taken care of.
And thank God we haven't had to deal with colic or
I know.
any kind of stomach. I mean, we have.
A little bit, but nothing.
Yeah, but not like. I mean, I know some people. I mean, you hear how he hits that pitch where he's just
Yeah.
screaming.
Some people say, "Well, they just kept doing that," and see, it's so easy. That's why people that only have each other and only have this and that. That's why babies are getting killed.
Right.
Because people can only take so much. That's why the rest is needed. If they do not get that rest, they go into hysteria, like it talked about, and then it can be so easy for the baby to die. For a parent to throw the baby or just get so frustrated over it.
Apparently, the shaken baby thing comes from that, and it's like I've never done that to any animal anytime
No.
ever. So I don't.
No, I mean if you know you're not going to. But there's a lot of people that on certain medications, not right in the head, don't easily do it.
A lot of people that are homebodies that are like gamers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've heard about people that just like they were pissed off because their game got interrupted and they threw the baby across the room.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just like not acceptable.
It's not, no.
But it is understandable when you don't know what you're doing.
Yes, exactly, and that's why it's so important to read.
Yeah.
I mean, with the internet nowadays, there's no excuse. None.
It's like there used to
Besides
be
not
books.
having internet.
Well,
Even that, I mean, phones, everything have internet nowadays.
and you go to the library.
Yeah, you go to
there's
the
always
library.
books.
There's ways.
And if you go back and even if you read the old ancient text, it pretty much gives you.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
it gives
same
you-
information.
Gives you the guidebook on how to do a lot of this
Yes.
stuff, But yeah, support one way or the other, and knowledge is what's going to get you through the hardest parts, I think.
Yes. 35 minutes left.
How many?
The battery has 35 minutes left. It's at 9%.
Did
It's
you-
not. It's not plugged in.
Tap into your circle of family and friends before your baby's
This is
arrival
almost done.
and line up who will be willing
Sorry,
to
poor
assist. Because people are excited and they want to help when a new baby arrives. So let them. Make a plan. You need to spend as much energy planning for the time after the baby arrives as you do before the birth. Hopefully you and your partner put together a birth plan, which is an outline of your partner's preferences during labor and delivery. The same planning should also go into postpartum. Make a postpartum plan with your partner before the baby arrives. We'll provide a link below in the description for a template you can download and use on your own. Identify what her potential needs are and how you can be prepared to meet them, or how you can arrange the help that she needs, like childcare. If you have other children, identify how you'll care for them ahead of time, not just for the labor and delivery, but for the weeks ahead as well. Meal plan. Fill your freezer with as much heat and serve meals as you possibly can. And if somebody wants to bring you a meal, say yes. If you can stock up on food before the baby arrives, the more time you can spend helping her, the better. Take as much time off as you possibly can. Balancing work and family, it can be difficult, but taking the time to be there for your partner and family is something you won't regret. If that's not an option, you can
And I'm sorry, there's no excuse there. I don't care what you work for. If your job's not going to let you take the time off, then quit it. There's another job that you can always get. I almost guarantee it. It's not worth it. Okay, your family should be your number one thing. These people that just go for their job is ridiculous, or live by the, well, how do you think we own this nice house? Then downsize a little bit
I'd rather live in a tent in the middle of nowhere than
and have a great family, tight-knit family unit, rather than all this money. I mean, you can barter. There's always ways around it, ladies and gentlemen. Do not let this system tell you that money is needed.
Well, it's the same thing that people have stopped having children is because they think they can't afford it.
Yeah,
and it's just not true.
No, it's not.
You're just thinking of paying for childcare. You're thinking
Yes.
about buying fancy things, and it's like we make our own clothes. And as a matter of fact, he doesn't even have any clothes yet because I haven't made any.
And
so,
I'm going to your computer.
shit. And so we swaddle him, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then when he's big enough, I'll make him clothes.
And that was Wolfoy, ladies and gentlemen. But exactly, I mean, you can make your own stuff. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not like we live in a day and age where you have to go and buy the best thing. don't listen to those people. It's not the way it is.
I mean,
Still be there.
I can't afford to do my nursery. Why do you need a nursery?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For your partner in other ways. I know it can be hard to check your work at the door, but try to be fully present when you come home from work. Mom's body is going to be healing physically, emotionally, and hormonally. So ask your midwife ahead of time what kind of things are normal. Birth pains, bleeding, postpartum depression, baby blues, breastfeeding. Breastfeeding may seem like a simple, natural thing, but for many women, it can be a real struggle. If your partner's struggling with breastfeeding, the best place to start is connecting with your local La Leche League. Allowing visitors. You and your partner, you might decide that you want a quiet, relaxing atmosphere, or maybe you want people over right away. When you allow visitors, it's a very personal decision, and for each family, that'll differ. For some, it's a big family affair, and visitors are expected right away. But for others, it's far more personal time. If it's been a rough night and you're just not up to the company, don't be afraid to postpone your get-togethers. Discussing your needs with friends and family will require gentle wording, good communication, and a tactful approach. Family and friends, they'll understand. It's the small things. Being a dad and a supportive partner, it's a big responsibility, but it's not all grand gestures. It's often the small things that mean the most, like bringing her food, snacks, drinks in the bed, changing the baby's diaper in the middle of the night,
Yes.
reminding her how beautiful she is in this hard time. Most importantly,
it says that. It's like I've done a majority of the diapers, I think, now. I just kind of took it upon myself, and it's like diaper.
Like I did the first day because I remember having to clean up the meconium and stuff.
Yeah.
But then, like after that, there was at least 4 to 5 days where I didn't change a single diaper. So.
Yep.
And I've only done maybe 2 or 3 since then. So yeah, that's helpful.
Yes, it helps a lot because you have to worry about the feeding and stuff. I mean, that's a lot.
just be responsive to her needs. Don't forget about caring for yourself. Even achieving the most basic things can be challenging. So do your best.
Yep.
If the housework falls behind, or if you're eating frozen pizza for the 3rd day in a row, don't beat yourself up. Find the support you need ahead of time. It's a big adjustment for you as well, so be prepared. 40 days, it may seem like a long time, but in reality, it'll go by very quickly.
Again.
You may feel the itch to get back to normal, but make sure you follow your partner's lead on what she's up for. Each woman's recovery looks different, and it depends a lot on how her birth went. It's important to give your partner as much time as they need, and don't forget to enjoy this time as a family.
Yes, that is the number one thing, ladies.
So let me know in the comments
Family.
below if you have any questions about it, or you just want to talk to another dad who's been through it. Subscribe to the channel for more.
I mean, honestly, there's been days where I'd just be like, it'd be better if you just went back to work and left me alone and left me in my solitude, because that's just the way that I revert back to. It's like I'd just rather be myself and be left alone, but that doesn't mean that it's the best thing to do.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, I'm very thankful. I mean, this whole thing has been great. I mean, I loved being able to deliver the baby and then cut the cord, clean the baby up and then give him back to you. I mean, that's the greatest thing in the world. You can't ask for more. But I'm letting you guys know, if you don't have the experience, if you're the male and you're very squeamish and you can't handle that thing, then please do not do it alone. Find somebody else, okay? Find somebody else to help you. A doula, a midwife. Midwives will have to be there for delivery if that's the case, if I remember right in most states. But find somebody. Okay, I happen to have experience, medical assisting experience, and massage therapy experience, so I know quite a bit. Like I said, I was there through our first birth also.
I think that the main thing that men have a problem with is seeing the woman be in that much pain.
Yes. And it's hard.
It's like I kept asking you.
But I got it. I got it and did it.
It'll pass. I'll say shit that I don't mean, but it'll pass.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please share your stories in the comments. All right. Let me know. I always love to hear from other people about it, what their experiences were, how long you take, how long you don't take. Let us know, please. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night.
I started this when you're singing, and you're singing.
It's like 5% right now, so it's like, get this ended so that it's